Oh gosh, hello. Do you know, I just started crying because I met Brian Eno behind stage. And I was there at the concert. I don't know if many of you were at the Palestine concert this week, which was, you know. Anyway, big up for Brian Eno. Thank you so much for coming today. This moment demands so much of us. I was here earlier in the week at the Stop Trump rally, opposing our government's whining and dining of an authoritarian, a genocide-supporting, lying, deceitful, horrible, all the bad words president. And last week, I came into central London with my 1.5-year-old, first thing in the morning, but rushed back by midday because I didn't feel safe in my own city, when I knew that there were hundreds of thousands of people marching from the far right with Tommy Robinson leading them. And this time, 2 weeks ago, I was here at a Palestine march where just behind us, over 800 people were arrested for peaceful protest. And today, we're here because we want a new economic settlement, one that means that every person in this country is able to live a decent life, banishing the eat or heat dilemma that so many face, and placing the tax burden on the very richest. My friends, we are in the fight of our lives. And it would be wrong to think that these battles are not connected. Because when you look behind the curtains of these problems, there are the same rich and powerful elite ensuring that algorithms spread hate and lies over unity and truth. The same people funding the fascists, protecting the interests of the defense industry, and lobbying government to block taxes on the super rich and the big polluters. And I've been close enough to power to see how it really works. When I was first selected as a Labour candidate, and you may know the story of how I was blocked, and I'm pretty proud of it, to be honest, I was immediately emailed by the likes of Bupa and Barclays Banks. This is how they work. They are constantly lobbying in the background. So when we demand that the richest pay more, it is, of course, about raising revenue for our crumbling NHS and to strengthen our welfare system. It is about reducing inequality, but it's also about denting their power to curtail democracy and to undermine our ability to have a say in what matters, in the policies that need to change. My friends, in this country today, people say there are two top issues: immigration and the economy, with recent polls showing that immigration is edging ahead. Is it any wonder that when we are constantly bombarded with hyperbole about people risking their lives to cross the channel from countries like Iraq and Afghanistan that we had a hand in destroying, from countries like Sudan who are suffering from famine and displacement? We hear so much more about those 45,000 odd people that cross every year than the hundreds of thousands at the very top of our wealth spectrum who are preventing a fair tax system and hoarding billions. We can be dismayed that the small boats take up people's minds, but we should also be glad that despite everything, the economy features at the top of the list too. And every time we ask people if they support a wealth tax, more than 70% of people say yes. It means that actually, despite all the propaganda, a lot of people are rejecting the division and see through some of these lies. And it's up to us to move that dial towards the economy and away from hate. We need to be clear who the true villains are. Those that have polluted our seas and our air while enjoying tax cuts and subsidies. Those who use the British Virgin Islands to money launder, buying properties in London, using shell companies to avoid paying taxes. They use our homes as piggy banks while homelessness soars and the housing crisis tightens. Villains like Graham King, who made billions by overcharging for these hotels where some of our most vulnerable asylum seekers are, channeling that money via a company called Clear Springs to end up in Dubai. These are the people ruining our country. These are the people who hate our country. My friends, 60 years ago, my dad arrived here from Fiji, the island on the other side of the planet, once in the British Empire where the sun never set. He left literal paradise to come here because he thought it offered him hope. And whilst, of course, he suffered many hardships because of racism, as a car mechanic, he was able to buy a house on a single income and fend for his family. But in the 60 years since, our country has been stripped of ownership of our water, of our electricity. Our schools have been sold off to academy trusts. Our council housing stock diminished. Today, a man like my father working in a manual job without a bank of mum and dad to rely on would never be able to afford a house in Walthamstow to fend for his family. And this is what lies at the heart of the crisis of masculinity, of why so many men were here last week. My friends, it's time we took back what's ours. It's time that those who have stripped us of our necessities gave back. It's time we make them pay. And look, I have a favor to ask you, and I know you're already out here and probably do lots of other things. But look, in an age when the algorithms and the billionaires own our press and want to divide us, that don't want us to speak to each other and have human connection, my plea to you, that as brilliant as it is that you're here today, to go back and organize in your communities, to speak to people that you don't necessarily agree with, whether it's at the school gates with your kids, whether it's your volunteering for the renters union, whatever that might look like. Please go back. You are the agents of change. And I know many of us might be disappointed by what we've seen politically this week on the left, but it's a reminder that no one person, no two people can lead this movement for us. You are our hope, and I have 100% faith in you. Thank you.